This morning we will begin with our keynote speaker, followed by our 3 career talk speakers who are all business leaders in the Western Slope.
We are very excited to start off with Beatriz Moreno. She is a content acquisition at Netflix. Beatriz is an immigrant she immigrated here with her family from Venezuela to the United States when she was 20 years old. When she moved here, she had to learn quickly to live, work, and survive personally and professionally. Her story is one of many stepstones leading her to where she is now. Welcome, Beatriz.
Good morning, everyone. Can everybody hear me well? Great. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me. And I'm going to start by saying what I do. So I work for Netflix, which I hope everybody knows what it is. So my job essentially entails making sure that all of the different shows that my team buys from Latin America and Spain and Portugal make it seamlessly into the platform, so when you log in, you can watch all the shows that I'm sure you watch all the time. So I particularly love working for Netflix because we encourage curiosity, deep collaboration, freedom, and responsibility. Netflix proudly rewards those who are responsible and committed to the accurate completion of their work. Many of the intelligent people I work with on a day-to-day basis come from different backgrounds, and understandably, we approach situations differently. This has fostered an amazingly helpful and diverse culture, and I can honestly say that I love going to work every single day. But as you can imagine, I didn't work for Netflix my whole life. And I have to start by saying that one of the things that I think got me there was flexibility. Being flexible has enabled me to understand that despite certain setbacks in life, every opportunity offers you something to learn from. It may not seem like that at the time, but approaching even negative situations with the belief that you can learn something from it can really provide you with a comfort that somehow will be missing if you don't see it. As I've told myself many times before, the way we approach situations matters way more than the situation itself. So that's where my story begins. My life was predominantly set up. I was going to go to college, get married, have kids, and live happily ever after. Like many other Latin American countries, Venezuela is very traditional. So family was like the core of it all. My parents were always there to guide me, to support me in every way, and I'm very happy to say that I still have them with me and they still support me every day, and I'm very, very thankful for that. Unfortunately, Venezuela, which had always been a great place to grow up in, was facing a lot of political problems. And then by the time I graduated college, my dad thought that the best thing he could do for our family was to move us to a different country. The political instability had permeated to all areas, so the country wasn't really offering many opportunities for upcoming generations like mine. Fortunately for us, my uncle on my mom's side had been living in the US since the 70s, and thanks to many different laws that allow you to reunite your family, he was able to submit paperwork for us to come to the United States. The process took 14 years, but in 2004, we were able to move here. We lived in Houston for a year, and then my dad ventured in some businesses in Miami, and we ended up going there, which was great, very sunny and beautiful. And however, the business that my dad ventured in didn't go as planned, and my parents pretty much lost everything we had by the time I was 20 years old. I had 3 semesters of civil engineering that I had completed back in Venezuela before I moved, but I was facing a new country and I had no idea how the school system was working, and I had no idea where to begin to find money to go to school now that my parents were not there to support me financially. I found out that FAFSA was a thing that you could apply for. However, since I was under a certain age and my parents had a business, even though it had gone wrong, FAFSA declined all of my applications thinking that my parents were able to support me financially. But I didn't give up. I've asked all my family members for help to find somebody that could be my co-signer to apply for a private loan. So then, after many, many tries, I was able to get that private loan to start my first year in college. But even then, I didn't give up on FAFSA so easily. So I went to the student loan office every week for the first year in college until the lady understood that my parents couldn't support me financially, so they had to do something to help me to apply as an independent person. And then finally, after the first year, I was able to get FAFSA approved. So I think that my Latin perseverance had a lot to do with that. So whatever your background is, use something that makes you different to kind of keep going and make things happen. So then, by then I was working at a retail store, but it was really hard to juggle work and school because the schedules were really tight, so I knew I had to find a job at a different place that was more flexible. that allowed me to kind of like balance both things at a time. So I took a job working at a UPS store, and I learned so much from that store. Its owner, his name was Florian, he taught me so many things about life and about work. He used to tell me, every time I walk into the store and I see you guys just hanging out there, I feel like I'm wasting my money. And then he also pointed out that, he said, like, have you noticed that every time that you're busy, times go, like, really flies by? And that's when I learned that being bored is a decision. And then there are plenty of things that you can be doing. So I was working full-time at UPS and going to school full-time to get my business degree. I had drifted away from engineering, not because I really wanted to, because I love engineering and I love numbers and I understand how important that is, but because my local college had more flexible schedules on business. So I still needed to fit in full-time work and full-time school, so that was like kind of like my only option. So I didn't see it as a setback, I just saw it as an opportunity for me to be able to manage both things. So my boss at the time taught me that I could even go to work, do what I had to do, waste my time, and then just get paid, or I could learn something every day. So then, every time we had downtime after all the real job was done, he would teach me something new about the work. So he would teach me how to pack something better, or how to work with like claims, or how to help him in any way. And then every day I learned something new, and it was great. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, you will be impressed with the amount of things that you can do if you really dedicate to it and you really find a passion to do so. So becoming proactive was the best thing that could ever happen to me. It quite literally gave me freedom. Since I was working and going to school full time, I had very little room for error. I almost forgot to tell you that I was leaving about an hour and a half away from home, from work, and then I was spending about 3 hours in the car every day. So basically, if you have to manage driving all the time, going to school and going to work, if something goes wrong, you don't make it. So then you have to really be proactive. So I learned that if I completed all my assignments by the time they were given to me, it didn't matter, because obviously life has uncertainties. So even partying is a thing. Like if you want to go out, you want to go to dinner or whatever, something comes up, if you're prepared, then it doesn't matter if things change because you will be able to have everything ready on time. So I simply didn't have the luxury to waste any time because there was no safety net left. So by the time I was almost 21, my parents' financial situation had worsened, and then my uncle had a talk with me and he said, listen, your parents cannot really support you, so then maybe if you drift away on your own, it'll be better for everyone. It was hard to hear, and even though we stayed really close as a family, I ventured on my own financially. But I knew at the time that working at UPS was not going to give me enough money to kind of like make this happen. So I started looking for another job. So everything I had learned at the UPS store combined with everything I was learning at college allowed me to get a job at a criminal defense office doing marketing for them. It was just me, the lawyer, and a paralegal. So I was using everything I learned with Florian to proactively learn from the paralegal and from everything I could learn from that criminal defense office. And about 5 months after, the paralegal quit her job, and my boss asked me if I could help drafting some documents. Of course, I said yes. I mean, you see, another very important skill is learning to take on new challenges, even if it's something you have never done before. We both knew I had no former education on being a paralegal, but he knew I was willing to help and I was willing to learn. So I also knew I had no intention of being a lawyer or a paralegal, but I also knew that it was going to bring me more financial stability. So I started to reach out to everyone I knew. All the lawyers I knew, like I went to Google every day, I talked to all my college professors, I even enrolled in law classes at school, and I made it happen. So in turn, my boss gave me a raise. So that was going to help me get more financial stability. So then, again, I realized that being proactive, resourceful, and flexible is all you really need to make things happen. So after about 2 years working there, in which I continued to do marketing for them, I also started looking for a job that was more suited to the career I was pursuing. So with everything I had learned, I became a really, really interesting candidate. Now I had a little bit of a legal background, I had marketing background, and I was still going to college, which allowed me to find a job at a little advertising agency. So then, I worked there for about 2 years, and I kind of like continued with the same pace of learning new things. I always participated in everything they needed me to do. We did HR, I did HR with them. We were bringing a lot of people from Europe to work for us. So obviously all the knowledge I had learned in the legal office helped me a lot to kind of like understand how to read all these legal documents and how to make things happen. And because my curiosity grew tremendously, it opened a lot of doors for me. So I understood that wanting to do something was way more important than knowing how to do it. So I made it a habit just to learn, and I have the confidence that no matter what task came my way, I would find a way to accomplish it. I also used my proactive behavior as a means of stability. I noticed that the more I organized myself and the more I kept all my coworkers in the loop, it was easier for everybody to do their job. So if I needed to avoid, and I also needed to avoid last minute surprises because as I was said, I was still trying to juggle full-time school and full-time work. So basically, it is kind of like an art of its own, and then the sooner you learn to be good at balancing everything in your life, like the easier things will become. That also applies for like financial stability. Like you need to be really smart, you need to save, and you need to make sure that you're prepared for all the different things that life is going to throw at you. So I knew even if I had to stop going to school full time because work was taking too long, I could never give up. So slowly but surely, I knew I had to make it. So, I mean, I owed so much money at the time for all the loans I had requested for going to college that obviously quitting wasn't even an option. Like, imagine having to get money to go to college, not even finish, so then you don't have a diploma, you cannot put anything on your resume, you didn't finish learning all the things you had to learn, but you still have to pay for that monthly. That doesn't really sound like a good idea. So basically, I was like, even if it takes me forever, I'm gonna keep going. So of course, work becomes a priority when you have to support yourself, but even that didn't make me stop going to college. It took me forever to graduate, but I did it. So then, I also learned that everything I didn't know how to do, you have so many resources available. Here in school, all your teachers are there for you to knock on their doors. Even when you go to college, all the professors are also there. And you would be impressed about how many people do not take advantage of this free resource. I mean, you're here, they're there. Just knock on their doors. Every door is there for you to knock on. So everybody that surrounded me helped me get so much better at my job that even the clients that work for us realized that my company was running more smoothly, and that gave me more opportunities to find other jobs. So somebody that was a client of our advertising agency eventually hired me. And obviously that was a better opportunity for me. It was going to give me more money, so I was ready to take that on. By the time I had finally graduated in college in 2011. So I worked for them for about 2 years as well, and then in a casual conversation, I got the opportunity to apply for a job at Telemundo. Telemundo is a network under that broadcasts Spanish television, and it is part of NBC Universal. So it was my first time working for a huge company. It was unbelievable. I couldn't even understand how I made it there, but I did. And I learned that having had all these different jobs that gave me such a vast knowledge and so many different things was what made me so appealing for them, because they needed somebody that could cover for a maternity leave for a lady that was going to be gone for 6 months. So I started working for the marketing department. So finally I was on track again for my career. So by the time the lady had to come back, I was very lucky that they extended my job there for 6 more months to help her ease herself back into the job. So I was helping everybody and their mother. I met everybody, I talked to everybody I knew, and I became really close to the people that were selling the content that Telemundo had to offer. Obviously, since I had a legal background, it was really easy for me to understand all the contracts and everything. Even everything I learned at UPS, even packing boxes was useful at Telemundo, because since we were working at marketing and we were doing marketing for a worldwide distribution company, basically we had to ship things across the world. So even packing boxes was something that was helpful to me. So then, working there, by the time the lady had come back, it was kind of like the time for me to work with HR to see what the options were for me, because if not, my time at Telemundo was going to come to an end, and I didn't want to miss the opportunity that I was already there. I wanted to stay. So then, since I was working so close to all the digital departments, they hired me, and I was able to find, finally, a full-time position at NBC. So, by then, I became really close working with my boss, and he knew that everything he threw my way, I could handle. So he really gave me leeway to kind of like take on all the digital business he was doing, and he knew that I was there to learn from him, and he knew I was responsible, and I was never going to let him down. He was a very, very important person in my career, because he gave me like a seat at the table. He saw it in me. He saw that I knew when to start and where to begin, and when to reach out for help, and when to stop, and when to keep going. So then he gave me the opportunity to start really working with all our clients, and that's how, with all the business that we're doing with Netflix, I ended up working for Netflix. I mean, if you would have asked me all those years ago that working on all those different one-off places was going to give me all the tools I needed to kind of like make it to Netflix, I mean, the answer was always going to be no. I mean, who would have known that working at UPS, packing boxes, working on criminal defense, going to prison, all these different things, I never thought, I mean, I had prisoners calling me at 6 in the morning because they needed me to go to court for them. And those things, that all came in handy when working for Netflix. So the one thing you need to understand, and there is no such thing as useless knowledge. There's no wasted effort. There's no one person you meet that you can learn from. You have to believe that every step will provide you with one piece of this puzzle that we call life. And no one piece of any puzzle works, it makes sense on its own. It is only the combination of many things that start to give you the sense of what the final picture looks like. And the beauty of life is that unlike a regular puzzle, you cannot see the full picture before you start putting it together. You have to trust your instincts, set your goals, do your best, believe in yourself, be flexible, responsible, and open-minded, curious and proactive. And the most important things you have to do is trust that every piece, as tiny as it may seem, it is fundamental to completing your own full picture. I promise you that sooner rather than later, the picture will become increasingly clear and your personal puzzle will start to make a lot more sense. Everything gets easier, the challenges will become bigger, but you will become an expert in trusting yourself and knowing that you possess all the tools you need to succeed. Thank you.
Beatriz, one quick question for you.
Yes.
What's your favorite Netflix show?
My favorite Netflix show, I have to say, is in Spanish it's called La Casa de Papel, in English it's called Money Heist, and I hope all of you watch it because it's amazing and it's one of the shows I worked in, so I'm very happy to say that it's done great for us and it's amazing.
Beatriz, thank you so much for flying here from LA to share your story with us.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope you guys have many questions for me. I'll be in the gym waiting for you. Thank you.